All right, it's October, and we've got some spooky things happening in the world of tennis. There's 250s going on in Stockholm, Antwerp, and Almaty, Kazakhstan, and the Six Kings Slams with some of the greatest players of all time is happening in Saudi Arabia. But we're going to talk about the upsets. We've got Stan Wawrinka making huge strides in Stockholm. We've got massive upsets in Antwerp. We're going to break it all down, and we'll talk about what Medvedev said about Sinner's form at the Six Kings Slam. It was pretty interesting. So we're going to break that down. Thanks for being here. This is The Slice presented by Betway. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome back to the show, and thanks for being here. If you're new and have not hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. It makes you a better tennis fan, and it makes The Slice stronger. So we appreciate your support. Speaking of support, The Slice is presented by Betway, the best place to gamble if you're going to on tennis, to bet the tennis. If you're going to do it responsibly, you can do it with us. Follow me on the Betway feed for more tips that I give out as I see things happening in the world of tennis. And The Slice is also presented in partnership with Tennis TV. That's right, the Tennis TV, which is the official streaming service of the ATP Tour and the best way for tennis fans like all of us to enjoy the sport we love. They have all the latest action from the ATP Tour and endless archives of past matches with ATP classics being packaged in a great way. If you miss a match, the replays and highlights are up quickly and you can skip through the match easily. That's how I typically do it when I'm trying to catch up on what's happened. Click the link below to try it. It's such a no-brainer expense for the true tennis fan. We appreciate your support. Thank you for being here. All right. We've got Stockholm, we've got Almaty, Kazakhstan, and we've got Antwerp, as I said, of the ATP 250s going on. And this is October. This is the time in the calendar year where people aren't sure where they're at physically as far as tennis players. The fans are not really sure what's going on. Do these upsets mean anything? Does the results that players get at this time of the year count towards what's going to happen in January at the Australian Open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? We've got players trying to make the ATP finals, including Rublev, who just lost to Wawrinka in Stockholm. So there's a bunch of weird tensions going on. And like I said, we've got the Six Kings Slam happening in Saudi Arabia. So we will give an update on that at the end of the show here. But let's first go to Stockholm. Stan Wawrinka takes out Andrei Rublev in 2 tiebreak sets, which was very high-level tennis. We saw some super vintage moments from Wawrinka, some backhands up the line on the quick courts in Stockholm. First of all, though, let's look at this is the court. This is the main court in Stockholm. It's called the Tennis Hallen. I've been there. It's all wooden seats around the court, and it's epic. You can come and go as you please from the top of the stadium there and just get a great view of the tennis. They got great players this year as well. So that's Antwerp. Let's go to Stockholm, the BNP Paribas Nordic Open. Semifinals are set, as you can see here. We've got Stan Wawrinka to play Tommy Paul. Stan Wawrinka is a wild card, and he's in the semifinals. Just got his first top 10 win in a year, and it's the first time he's in the semifinals in also a year, I believe. So he'll play Tommy Paul after coming through Andrei Rublev in 7-6, 7-6. Andrei Rublev was pretty mad. That's not anything new, but it was a pretty big match. A lot of winners, a lot of unforced errors. 2 sets, 33 winners from Wawrinka, 36 unforced errors. 26 winners, 30 unforced errors from Rublev. So that was an interesting one for sure. I said high level. I should have just meant high hitting, high pace of hitting, a lot of unforced errors, just a lot of fireworks on court there. I saw Rublev trying to tee his racket at the end of the match, and I believe he had already had a warning at that point. And so technically he probably should have been like defaulted from the match, but he survived there to lose one more point and then lost the match. So Rublev's out to Wawrinka. Tommy Paul comes through Kecmanovic. Grigor Dimitrov comes through Dominic Stricker. And Talon Griekspoor upsets Casper Ruud. So there's the semifinals in Stockholm. Wawrinka, Tommy Paul, Dimitrov versus Griekspoor. And now we go to the European Open in Antwerp, Belgium. So here's the semifinals here, and you can imagine that there's been some upsets already. Hugo Gaston versus Roberto Bautista Agut, and then Marcus Giron, the 8th seed, versus Yuri Lehechka, the 5th seed. Where are the top seeds, you might say? Well, Alex de Minaur lost to Hugo Gaston crazily in 3 sets, 7-5 in the third. That's a tough loss for Alex de Minaur for sure. He will hate that. And our guy Felix Auger-Aliassime, the 3rd seed, lost to Roberto Bautista Agut 7-6 in the third. Just another brutal loss for our guy, friend of the show, Felix Auger-Aliassime, who just cannot find his game. Bautista Agut, obviously an old legend of the game, but he's ranked 60 in the world, and he's definitely not on the upswing in his career right now. So that is a tough loss for Felix Auger-Aliassime. Zizou Bergs has made it through, and he lost to Giron. So Baez was the 4th seed. Bergs beat Baez. Not a huge surprise there. Yuri Lehechka, 6-4, 6-4 over Stefanos Tsitsipas. So this is like Antwerp's like the tournament of players who are struggling. Tsitsipas, Felix Auger-Aliassime, 2 of the guys at the top of the list of, I would say, struggling young players who have incredible talent and should be doing better. So that's Antwerp. You got a really interesting, wide open semifinal. One of these winners is going to be a really happy guy to win at 250 in Antwerp in a great tournament there. Now let's go over to Almaty, Kazakhstan, where we do have a highlight standout Canadian. Our guy, Gabriel Diallo, friend of the show, has made it to the semifinals after beating the number 2 seed Alejandro Tabilo, guaranteeing that Gabe, we call him Gabe here, will be in the top 100 come next week's ranking. That's his first time cracking it, and that's really awesome for our guy. He'll play Francisco Cerundolo in the semifinals, who beat Shevchenko, Kazakhstan. And then a wild card, never heard of this guy before, Zukayev, made it to the final and lost to Hachinov, the 3rd seed. Can't really blame him there. And Alexander Vukic of Australia beats Francis Tiafoe, the number 1 seed, in the quarterfinals. So a lot of upsets, a lot of guys not having their best energy, not having their best efforts at this stage of the season, as you can see. Gabriel Diallo, though, taking advantage of maybe some of that, makes the semifinals. You know who we're going to be cheering for here on the slice from that group there. So, yeah, that's the 3 ATP 250s that we got going on right now. And now let's take a check-in on what's going on with the Six Kings Slam. A lot of people are talking about it, even though it's an exhibition. A lot of times exhibitions, even if it has Djokovic, Alcaraz, Federer, all the biggest players in the world, even if it has them there, most tennis fans, I just think, don't care at all. And that's probably still the case with the Six Kings Slam. But I think players care about the level. And we saw an really interesting quote, which I'll read to you, or from Daniil Medvedev. I believe this was translated, but after the loss, he lost in the semifinals, or I don't know what you call it, I guess the quarterfinals, it was the quarterfinals to Jannik Sinner, 6-0, 6-3. And he said after the match that he doesn't remember anybody playing like this against him. He said he literally just didn't feel like he could do anything. He's obviously lost to Sinner, I believe, 6 out of their last 7 matches. But he just felt like he had no options in to beat him. And he compared it to when he lost to Djokovic at the Australian Open, I believe in 2021 or 2020, or Alcaraz at Wimbledon when he lost in 3 straight sets there, where he just gets absolutely dominated and doesn't feel like he has options. So Sinner is hitting his stride. Obviously, we've seen that he won. He won Shanghai. He's number 1 player in the world. He's won the U.S. Open and the Australian Open. But on these hard courts, he's literally such a beast. And Daniil Medvedev, who was the guy we were saying the same things about for a while there, made it to number 1, won the U.S. Open, was unbelievable on the hard courts. Daniil Medvedev's just taking it to a different level. He's got like a similar body type to Medvedev, but he has more power, probably like more explosive movement around the court, and can seemingly handle anyone on a hard court right now, other than Carlos Alcaraz, who can beat him on a hard court but loses to other people on the hard courts as well. So Sinner and Alcaraz are in the final of, I'll just put it here on the screen. This is from the BBC. Sorry. The Jannik Sinner beats Daniil Medvedev 6-0, 6-3. Carlos Alcaraz beat Holger Rune. And then on Thursday, Sinner beat Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz beat Nadal Djokovic, Sinner over Djokovic in 3 sets, a tight one. It's an exhibition, but these players are playing. And now they're into the final on Saturday, where there'll still be a semifinal. So Djokovic, or a bronze medal match, you could say. Third place playoff, they're calling it. Novak Djokovic versus Rafael Nadal. Absolutely epic, as Rafa Nadal is scheduled to retire. Jannik Sinner versus Carlos Alcaraz for the $6 million top prize for the winner. These guys are getting paid $1.5 million each to just show up. So it's an exhibition. But again, I think that these guys can feel the level on the court and they're competitive. They definitely play for keeps. Doesn't count for points, doesn't count for reputation, doesn't count for anything other than ego, feeling where their game's at heading into the ATP finals, where obviously everyone will be there except for Rune and Nadal. So yeah, that's the Six King Slams. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below on this whole exhibition. Did any of you followed it? There's updates on Tennis TV's Twitter page. They didn't show it because it's not an ATP event, obviously, but they'll show everything else. So if you are checking, have you considered subscribing to Tennis TV? Now is your chance to do it. Use my link below. Use our link below. And seriously, it's the only legit way to watch ATP tennis. When you miss a match, you can easily go back and scrub through it in a really clean way, which helps you see everything in perfect high def. And yeah, to me, it's just a no-brainer for any tennis fan. If you can afford $20 a month, it's a no-brainer. So yeah, that's a new partner for us. Betway's been our steady for the last few months, so appreciate them being on board. Appreciate you guys being here. That's the slice on the 3 ATP 250s going on and the Six King Slam. We've got 2 ATP 500s coming up next week. We got Vienna and Basel, 2 great tournaments. I was in Basel 2 years ago. Great memories from there, where Felix Auger-Aliassime won, made it all the way. So yeah, we'll come at you probably Monday with a breakdown of those draws once they're out. And then also on the podcast on Monday with JP Hovey, we've got Ben Rothenberg coming on the show. So we're going to ask him questions. We're going to ask him about Zverev. We're going to ask him about Pavi G. We're going to ask him about lawsuits. We're going to ask him about writing a book about Naomi Osaka, one of the most influential tennis media people of all time, Ben Rothenberg, and we're going to have him on the show. So that's the slice. Thank you for being here. Leave your thoughts below as always, and we will see you next time here on the show.